Great. All right, cool. I think we can get started. Thank you everyone for joining. As always, great to see everybody. GM, everyone. My name is Kevin Jones, developer relations engineer working at Edge and Node, working at Graph. This is the Graph Builders office hours where we try to get everyone together to talk about interesting stuff going on in the Graph protocol from a builder's perspective. And as always, this session is going to be recorded. So just keep that in mind. Feel free to use chat. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions. We're really excited today. Today we have BrianAI, special project that is doing some interesting stuff with the graph. And we're going to have them come on, kind of give a little bit of a walkthrough on their what they created and just talk a little bit about their integrations. And there's going to be a session for Q&A. And then we also have a message a little bit later from Marcus from the DevRel team at Edge and Node as well. So without further ado, Orbulo, let's have you come on. And
thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for the invite, and thanks for the Graph team for having us today. And I'm Orbulo, and I'm one of the founders of Brian. Brian is a project that was born during the Eat Prague Hackathon in 2023, so last year. And we won several bounties there, and also one from the Graph as well. And what is Brian? Brian is composed of two main components, the Brian app and the Brian API. The Brian app, basically, it's a showcase of what you could do using our APIs. And you may ask, what can I do with the Brian APIs? You can perform transactions, research Web3 info, deploy smart contracts, and also research information on dgraph subgraphs. Everything by prompt, so by using natural language and plain English, basically. So the app is really simple. You just need to connect your wallet. And I would like to stress the fact that Brian is a non-custodial solution. So you do not need to use any private keys or whatsoever. You will be signing everything with your wallet. And the first feature is the research information, which we call Ask Brian. And here you can start typing any type of information that you would like to know and ask Brian. So for example, we could ask him, what is dgraph? And right now, what is happening? We have a selected knowledge box, as we call it, which is basically a subset of information from the internet, links, pages, documents, and so on and so forth. And Brian, the agent, is using this information to generate a response for you based on what kind of question you were asking. So I just tested it, so I hope that it does not take so long, but whatever. Otherwise, I'm gonna
the demo gods.
Yeah, no, I literally just tested it on the other screen, but whatever. Let me just refresh 1 second. Maybe the fact that I had two windows open was a problem. Okay, let's just type it again. What is dgraph? And hopefully now Brian is gonna answer us. And it's gonna build a response for you, and it's also gonna give you the top 3 related resources that were used to generate that response. So in this case, it's gonna give a pretty general and hopefully right description about dgraph, and also some of the top 3 related resources, such as the about dgraph page from dgraph as well. And you can ask also other stuff like, for example, this is one that I like a lot, which is what are the differences between Gnosis chain and Ethereum, because it makes some comparisons between Gnosis and Ethereum. And as you can see, it's going to tell you what's the differences between the transaction fee distribution, the explorers, the compatibility, and so on and so forth. Then for the most requested feature, I guess, as of right now, it's the send transaction one. Currently, Brian is available on these mainnets, so Ethereum, Linea, Polygon, Optimism, Gnosis, Arbitrum, and Base. But we are adding some new chains I do not remember how many, but I think 5 or 6 more chains will be added. So basically on any chain, you will be able to perform transactions via Brian. And the send transaction feature works as you would imagine it, basically. So you can type some kind of actions that you would like to do. So for example, I want to swap, let's say 10 USDC for Matic in this case, since we are on Polygon. And Brian is going to build the transaction for me, and then I just need to confirm it. You can see the info. So you're going to see on which AMM or protocol you're going to switch. In this case, you're going to swap. In this case, so it's 1 inch, paying this amount of fees, this amount of other fees, which are basically routers and relayers fees, and the slippage used, and of course the amount of gas fees in dollars as well. You can do not everything, of course. As of right now, you can swap tokens, you can bridge them, you can transfer tokens, you can do also cross-chain operations as well, as like cross-chain swaps. It also supports ENS resolution. So you may say, I want to transfer 10 USDC to limone.eth, and it's going to do ENS resolution as well. So you do not need to know the address. So this is the limone.eth address. And yeah, you can also do stuff. As I said, you can do bridges, like I want to bridge 300 USDC to Optimist. And this should build the bridge transaction for me. All the different actions that you can perform are described on the docs, so you do not need to like invent yourself. But if there are some kind of actions that you would like to see implemented in Brian, please reach out to us. And soon we are going to implement a lot of the DeFi actions as well. So for example, borrowing, lending tokens, depositing tokens, staking them, withdrawing them, and so on and so forth. So like the major DeFi, really DeFi operations. And as you can see, you can just type, I want to bridge, and this is going to bring up the transaction for you. You just need to confirm it, and the tokens will be bridged. So you do not need to know, okay, on which bridge I need to go, how does it work, and so on. You just type it in plain English, and you are just going to get pretty much everything. And these are, for example, all these steps involved in bridging the tokens, which are completely abstracted from you. So it's going to swap some tokens into USDT. It's going to bridge them using Amarok, and then it's going to swap them back to USDC using 1 inch. Of course, there could be some kind of optimization in this part, but we are going to implement it soon with the DeFi mode. What is the DeFi mode? Basically, Brian supports 3 types of modes. The one that you're seeing right now, which is the only available, it's the standard mode, which is basically for everyday users, but not so DeFi/degen users. And then we are going to have the safe mode, which will be targeting new users. And so you'll be able to deploy your safe via Brian and execute transactions from your safe directly on Brian. And the transactions that will be performed by a safe, by the safes created on Brian, will be gasless. So you will not need to pay gas. We are going to pay gas for you. And then the last mode, it's of course the DeFi mode, which are going to support a broader range of actions and a broader range of parameters, such as slippage, such as searching for the fastest route, or searching for example, the one that has the less fees. Now, for the third functionality of Brian is the deploy of smart contracts. As I said before, it's really easy to imagine it. You can ask, for example, I want to deploy an ERC20 token named the graph token with 10,000 total supply. And what is going to do, Brian, is going to give you the code, which you can deploy it right now using Brian by clicking on deploy. If the smart contract has any parameters in the constructor, is going to ask you to pass those values in order to correctly deploy the smart contract. You can ask Brian to explain to you in plain English what this contract does. Of course, this is a really simple smart contract, so it's just going to tell you that it is an ERC20 token, and it's going to mint them and whatever. And also something which is really cool that we added, if you are a developer yourself or you know a little bit of Solidity code, you can edit the code directly in Brian. So this is a functioning editor, and when you just stop editing your code, you just need to click the editing one, and it supports context. So you can ask him, for example, add a function where only the owner can mint tokens. And Brian is going to add this mint function using the only owner modifier directly from OpenZeppelin. So it's not going to invent code. It's always going to use already existing libraries. This is because this functionality, it's not meant, of course, to deploy the new Uniswap or really complex smart contracts, but it's meant for giving the people that have never deployed a smart contract before to have that kind of joy of deploying their token or their NFT and so on and so forth. So we are keeping it simple for now. And once you deploy your smart contract, the smart contract will be available on your settings, and you'll be able to interact with your own smart contract by typing in English. And this can be, this is available also if for any verified smart contract on chain. So if we get, for example, USDT, and we go to this, this should be up. Hopefully, is this the URL? No. Just 1 second. I developed this, but I don't remember the URL. Whatever. There's a way in Brian where you can construct the Brian app URL, and you'll get a user interface where you can interact with the smart contracts. So if, for example, the front end for a given website is not working, this is available only on Ethereum mainnet, so only Etherscan verified contracts as of right now. If the front end, for example, is not working, you can just put the address of this smart contract you want to interact with, in case you do not know how to use Etherscan or other tools, and then you can just start typing with the smart contract. So if you need to mint some tokens, or you need to sell them, or you need to burn them, or whatever, you could use Brian. And then the last functionality that we added, which is this POC with dgraph, which is basically what we did was really hard. And basically we found a way on how to generate GraphQL queries on top of really long GraphQL schemas, which is the main issue, as you could say, of some of the dgraph subgraphs, for example, for the Messari ones, which are the ones that we are interacting with. So we started with the other ones. And so basically what this does is that you can ask him, for example, let's go on the OpenSea. Okay, so you can ask him, for example, give me the collection with the most revenue. And this has 2 steps behind it. So, for example, right now it's returning that AutoD is the collection with the most revenue on OpenSea. And how does it work? Basically, we generate the GraphQL query, and then we send that query that was generated directly to the given subgraph, and then we parse back the response, always using the AI, and so giving you the generated text. While regarding, for example, OpenSea, regarding Uniswap, you can ask information about liquidity pools, by TVL, by volume, and so on and so forth. So, so let's see if it takes not so much time, because sometimes we figured out that some of the ordered and filtered queries on this kind of subgraph take a lot of time. But what we added is that if the request goes on timeout, we are going to give you the GraphQL query, so you could take that query and use it somewhere else. Let's see. Okay, enough waiting. Let's not. So that was Brian. No, the last thing that I wanted to add is that okay, we got the results. So we should have waited. So these are like the top 3 liquidity pools by volume. Don't know why this one does not have a name on the first type of it, but whatever. You get the point. So what we are doing right now is, of course, making this process faster, more efficient, and capable of supporting more complex queries, such as, for example, give me the liquidity pools that had the most revenues in the last 30 days and so on and so forth. But for pretty simple queries, if you don't know GraphQL or hard queries, you can start asking Brian for information about some subgraphs. And the last thing that I would like to add is that we released our API. The API, it's available, it's free. You just need to be whitelisted on Brian, because Brian right now it's in private beta, and you just need to contact us on Twitter, or you can complete a form, which is available both on the docs and I think also on the Twitter page. And you just complete that. You can be anon. We just need your address. We do not care. We just want to whitelist you, and you will be able to create your API key and start using the Brian API to ask information, to generate transaction call data, and so on and so forth. So that was it. If you have any questions, I'm all ears.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm curious, are you guys planning on maybe a deploy subgraphs option where people can kind of make like subgraphs for their smart contracts? Basically, doing the graph init for them inside of would be a cool feature.
Ooh, that's a really cool idea. We will need to take a look into how the process could like develop, in the mean of what kind of steps we will need to automate and how to deploy it and so on. But I think that it could be doable on a given smart contract if it's deployed via Brian, of course.
Awesome. And then I'm also curious, from a technical perspective for the graph integration, can you kind of like dive a little bit more into that and like how that works, like what you're doing to actually like formulate those GraphQL queries and get the data back? Or are you, like, what does it look like from a technical perspective on Brian to do those queries?
Yeah. So as I said before, the flow of the operation is the one that I just described. So it's the first part is the one that generates the query. Then there's the part that calls the API for that given subgraph, which is selected here on the bottom right. In this case, there are only 2, and it is the Uniswap and the OpenSea one. And then the last step is parsing back the result from the graph, also using the AI. What we did with the GraphQL schemas, it's basically we've done a lot of experimentation and a lot of work with different types of models in order to understand how we could use the big information which in a lot of models does not fit because the context is too small or stuff like that. And so basically by doing some chunking, which we got from a paper that one of the guys that it's working with us on Brian, which I don't think it's live here on the call now, is Marcello, which is our AI expert. He read this kind of cool paper about how basically you could encode really large context, feed it to an LLM, and then decode back the result based on the encoding function that you did. I do not have any like more in detailed description about this, but for sure, if any of you wants to know more, just contact us and we will give you a more detailed response about it. But it's all this kind of function of encoding the data in order to shorten the context, which is composed of course, the system prompt plus the GraphQL schema, and then decode back the result based on the encoding function. Of course, we do not know if it's the best way to do it. It's the one that for now we figured out that it works. But of course, this kind of problem will be tackled soon by models that will be able to have larger contexts. And also we are experimenting right now with another kind of AI models, which are called the state space models. I don't know if anyone in the chat has read something about them, which basically are by some papers, they are better at handling bigger contexts and text and some kind of text-based tasks, such as this one. And so we are experimenting with them in order to see if it gets faster and it gets better at recognizing queries based on these huge schemas.
Awesome. Is any part of like Brian open source? Like, is it on GitHub, or is this? I know you have the API that you're going to expose, but is any of the actual source code open source?
No, as of right now, no. We have some repos open source of, for example, an hackathon that we did in Paris that we won, where we trained and compressed using LoRa the Llama 2 model. But as of right now, what you see right now, it's not open source, but soon, for example, some parts will be. So the embeddings that we are using for the knowledge part will be publicly available on Swarm as well. So you could get them and train your own model based on the embeddings that we use. And so you could use our own base to expand it and build your own model on top of that, and stuff like that. So we did not talk a lot about the open source stuff, but we are going to do, of course, some open source contributions in the future on the Web3 and AI integration.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any question?
There's a question of, is this the same AI tech behind what Semiotic is using, or totally separate? It's separate from the Semiotic one. Even if we know the Semiotic team, I don't know if Sam, it's the Sam from Semiotic, but
yeah. Very, very cool. Very cool. Great. Any other questions? Anyone else want to come off mute or come on chat? Awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for giving that demo and give us a walkthrough. Yeah, it's really cool to see. Excited to see what you do with it, where it goes. Also excited to see subgraph deploy subgraph options. So that would be a helpful feature.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Have a nice day, I guess.
Yep. And we're gonna also have Marcus. Marcus, if you're there, Marcus wanted to do a brief introduction about the Builders newsletter, so I'll pass it off to him.
Okay, awesome. All right, real quick, everyone. Hi, I'm Marcus, working Graph and Node. Thank you for that presentation. Awesome. I am working every month on the Builders newsletter. I wanted to bring that to you guys just because I am aiming directly toward builders in the ecosystem, and that you guys. So that was just an example of the last month's newsletter. And if there's any updates in terms of new features, new updates, any news that would be pertinent or specific in this ecosystem, this is just one example of the newsletter. And also there's the sign up link there. So feel free to sign up if you so inclined, just to have that news in your inbox every single month, and just to stay on the cutting edge of what's going on Graph protocol ecosystem. So that's it. And thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marcus. Yeah, the Builders newsletter is really cool because it kind of recaps like everything that's been happening in the last month. So if you missed a Graph Builders office hours, or if you're interested about, interesting things that are going on at hackathons or events, it's really just a good chance to recap that. And Marcus does a great job every month on that. So thank you, Marcus. Cool. Well, we finished a lot earlier today than we usually do. But as always, we're going to keep the office hours open. People can hang out if they want, ask questions, chat for the next 30 minutes. So don't feel like you need to scurry off, but also don't feel like you need to stay. You guys got other things to do. But thank you, everyone. Again, thank you, everyone from Brian Knows AI, the Brian team. That was really cool. And yeah, excited to see what you built. So yeah, but it will be here. And yeah, thank you again, guys.